Okay, then what do we disagree on?
The fact that they're truth tracking, so give an argument for that.
The fact that they're truth tracking. Define truth tracking.
Something that tracks truth. Very fucking simple. What do you need to define?
Oh my god, he just pulled an Andrew Wilson on Kojo.
What does wrong mean when you're asking me if something is wrong? What does that mean?
What is wrong? What is truth tracking? Oh no.
Right, because I don't believe that, you know, a pro-life intuition is reliable, because it would lack marks of reliability, such as
Lacks marks of reliability. So about a week or so ago, from the time of recording this intro and outro, I came across this debate from the guy who I consider one of the left's most overrated and, in my honest opinion, worst debaters that we have right now. Dean Withers, or as I like to say, Dean Shitters. He ended up having a debate with this guy named Kojo on the concept of intuitionism and abortion. Most of it was honestly just about abortion, and I'm cutting all of that out since it was basically unproductive back and forth accusations of misrepresenting each other's views. What you are about to see are the parts which I believe really shine a massive spotlight on how much of a lack of a foundation Dean has for any of his views. If you're a viewer of his who has never actually seen him answer questions before, you may be in shock at what kind of bullshit you are about to see. Because the Dean you see most of the time who presses stupid MAGA supporters on TikTok for a few hours every day isn't the same Dean who quivers and shivers like a nervous wreck whenever somebody pushes him on the foundation for everything he argues for. Be prepared for cringe and to lose some respect for this dude, and if you end up liking what I have to point out about him, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing for more. And one last thing before we go on, if Dean sees this, I am in your Discord right now, and I am always down for a debate in case you ever get the balls to debate somebody who is not on the right. I am a post-left egoist anarchist, and I'll be down to chat whenever. The ball's in your court if this ever does end up coming your way. And without further ado, let's go.
The reason why our other faculties are reliable is because seemingly they've served an evolutionary purpose. And that's why evolution has designed my faculties to be reliable. And I just simply argue that, well, so do my moral faculties. My moral faculties have...
The very easy counter-argument to this is the fact that maybe our senses aren't always reliable. That's why I'm wearing glasses, buddy. It's not, my eyesight isn't entirely reliable.
Have also served me an evolutionary function. And just in the same way evolution has developed my other faculties to be reliable, evolution has also developed my moral faculties to be reliable. And I'll add on.
I hope you can see what is wrong with that statement. Evolution did not affect our moral faculties. We don't have moral faculties. Oh man, maybe this is where my egoist side is coming into as my bias here, but last I checked, morals don't actually exist. They're just made up rules that we enforce on ourselves.
We could further demonstrate the reliability of my moral intuitions, not based upon the evidence I just shared, but also because seemingly my other mental faculties, such as my reasoning or my logic, are coherent, and my moral intuitions.
How do you know that though? Seriously, everybody thinks their faculties are coherent until they're not. How do you prove that exactly? It's probably what he's going to be pushed back on.
Which would grant even more credence to the idea that they're coherent and reliable. So for that reason, I'd argue, right, that my moral intuition that I have as it relates to the motivations surrounding my normative claim related to abortion are in fact reliable. What are your thoughts, Samantha?
So his claims to abortion are reliable because his moral faculties are reliable? Did I hear that right, dude? Oh no.
Thoughts, Samantha?
Can I ask a question real quick?
One sec. Does anybody have a big objection to that on the panel?
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask.
Yeah, I have an objection too.
I feel like it's a little, I mean, to be honest, it's a little, you're saying that these things are reliable on the basis of, like, other cases like senses, right? I'm just not entirely sure if you think that, like, everybody else's moral intuitions
Yeah, exactly.
are
What?
like, reliable too.
Well, yeah, I was.
You can test them for their reliability, but what does that mean?
How do you test your moral faculty? Okay.
Say that again, sorry.
Well, we could
Did you
test.
say, what does that mean?
No, I said say that again, B, because it sounded like B wanted to talk. And no, so not all moral intuitions are reliable, but seemingly when they aren't reliable, there's a clear explanation.
But there's not a clear explanation about why yours are any more reliable than theirs.
My question was, wouldn't that stance kind of fall under the pro-life view too? Because you said that they would be morally, intuitionally correct or whatever. Wouldn't that also work for pro-lifers?
Yeah, it really would, wouldn't it? Doesn't it make more evolutionary sense to be pro-life because our entire point as a species is to repopulate and stuff?
Well, no, I would say it wouldn't, right? Because I don't believe that a pro-life intuition is reliable, because it would lack marks of reliability, such as coherence.
It lacks marks of reliability. It lacks marks of reliability. Such as
Coherence.
Such as coherence. Oh boy. I'm gonna be completely honest. When it comes to the coherence of the two sides of abortion, pro-life or pro-choice, I would say pro-life honestly comes across as the more coherent one from a purely logical standpoint. This is so bad already. We're only 6 minutes into it, and he's using completely circular logic to justify his position. He hasn't given an actual reason why besides his faculties are reliable. Mr. Musashi? The pro-life position is more logical. Please explain. I was an analytic Phil grad that specialized in logic. It's the most coherent one, I would say. A life is a life, therefore it has value. Going all the way back to conception or whatever. It's pretty simple logic even. But then you have the pro-choice side, which kind of is all over the place sometimes when it comes to when a life becomes a life and you shouldn't be able to abort after a certain point kind of thing. Dean especially does not have any kind of ideological coherence, as you can see by the first 6 minutes of this video.
That particular pro-life views hold coherence, right? And what I mean by coherence is I think it's quite possible to examine a pro-life normative claim that's going to be backed by these unreliable moral intuitions, and we can examine them for things such as logical coherence or a lack of distinction with alternative moral intuitions, in which would contradict the one set forth as it related to an individual's pro-life view. And which would demonstrate the moral intuition to be non-coherent, thereby unreliable.
I can't be the only one who tells there is so much uncertainty in his voice, right? He sounds so fucking nervous. The little hamster in his head is running out of energy to be able to spin that wheel.
Correct.
Well, sure. I'll give you an example. Let's assume the pro-life view that abortion is morally wrong because all life is valuable.
Okay.
So, for instance, this moral intuition would be unreliable because it's going to be assumed predicated on a false ideology, right?
What makes it a false ideology? What the fuck does that mean? Okay, let's hear him out.
Ideology is basically the idea that they don't actually think that all life is valuable. And this could be demonstrated by maybe pointing out the fact that plants are biologically alive, yet they don't grant the right to life to plants, thereby making the view incoherent. And as the view would be incoherent, it would lack an adequate amount of marks for reliability.
I don't think pro-lifers are out here saying that all life has value. I think they're specifically saying human life. Are we really comparing humans to plants right now? I'm not even pro-life, but this is horrible so far. And Kojo hasn't even spoken yet.
Or another example, maybe somebody is pro-life because, they think that all human life is valuable. Well, we'd be able to demonstrate maybe, right, a lack of coherence in their moral intuitions by pointing out the fact that they maybe don't think it's murder to pull the plug on a brain-dead patient. And because there would be incoherence demonstrated within their moral intuitions, we have reason to believe that thereby these moral intuitions are unreliable. So we kind of have like the foundational justification to demonstrate that we've reasoned.
But then that would also depend on the person, though. Maybe some pro-lifers aren't for pulling the plug on somebody who's brain dead. It does depend on the person at the end of the day. So somebody who's pro-life can have an actual comprehensive, coherent, logical basis for their views and stuff. If it's purely about coherent.
Most people that I talk to that hold to flow hold to some like, notion of a right to life. Now, of course, it's like possible to not hold to a notion of like these rights and still think that it's wrong. I guess I said what I said because
Right, but
most
the people in question are a bunch of uneducated 18-year-old TikTok people, right?
That is true, yeah. He really only talks to fucking idiots, so he doesn't ever hear the more smart people.
Right.
Damn.
I love how you cried about interruptions and then you just repeated yourself for like 5 minutes straight.
Literally, yeah.
right?
He's been saying the same thing nonstop. He hasn't proposed anything else besides like the same 5 things. Most of this debate has just been him repeating himself.
That was like literally.
Like, there's not even that much to even go over at this point because all he does is repeat himself. I already said what I need to say at the beginning of this.
The reason I describe this as reliable is because of the other faculties that evolution has developed from being evolutionarily advantageous, right? Like, for instance, I'd say that my perceptions are generally reliable, and maybe like my perceptions are generally reliable.
What the fuck does your ability to perceive things with your eyeballs have to do with your moral intuitions, my man?
Or like maybe like my taste or my feeling, right? Obviously, it's going to be evolutionarily advantageous for these things to be reliable for like my own flourishment and the flourishment of those around me. And I basically use this to suggest a type of track record argument to say, well, if all these other faculties are reliable, and they're reliable because they were evolutionarily developed to be beneficial to myself and those around me, well, then why would this one faculty of my moral intuitions not be reliable? Like, assume that you were like flying a plane and you have about
Because moral intuitions are very subjective, and we have entire societies filled with moral values that we all, for example, oppose, such as societies filled with slavery. We've had societies that are pro-genocide and have committed genocide. Moral intuitions are morals. They aren't real. They're subjective and culture-based. They are not... I don't know how any other way to put this besides the fact that they're not real. I already gave my thoughts on all of this at the very beginning, though. It looks like they're just retreading old ground again, and we don't even have that much more time to go. So this is going to be a pretty short video, I guess. Wouldn't evolutionary intuition favor truth? Us knowing the truth about things are very important to the success of society. Tell that to all the societies who do shit like imperialism, who do genocide, who do rape, who do unjustified murder. At least from our perspective, there's a lot of different societies who have done a lot of fucked up things. Are they favoring the truth? I don't think so, personally, because we're talking about morals here, right? We're not talking about intuition, about the truth of like how to survive. Is protein good for you or something like that? We're talking about abortion and stuff here. We're talking about morality. I don't think morals are being influenced by biology just because of the pure fact that moralities in themselves don't actually exist.
I'm responding to your point that was, well, maybe evolution developed these things not to be like truth tracking, but rather just to like increase one's chance of survivability. The way in which I'm responding to this is by substituting the claim truth tracking for reliable and demonstrating how other things in which evolution developed were promoted to be reliable. So why would we assume...
That's not a response.
Okay, why is this not a response?
Yeah, because you're just given an argument for why intuitions are reliable. I'm not challenging that claim. So it's like you're fighting demons now.
Okay, so you accept that moral intuitions are like promoted to be reliable?
Yeah.
Okay, then what do we disagree on?
The fact that they're truth tracking. So give an argument for that.
The fact that they're truth tracking. Define truth tracking.
Something that tracks truth. Very fucking simple. What do you need to define?
Oh my god, he just pulled an Andrew Wilson on Kojo.
What does wrong mean when you're asking me if something is wrong? What does that mean?
What is wrong? What is truth tracking? Oh no.
When you say like, are they truth tracking? Like, are you just asking the question, are they reliable?
Do they track truth about the world?
Do they track truth about the world? So it's
Yeah,
like if I intuit that it's like morally wrong to murder, is it tracking some truth of the world?
Is it tracking the truth of the proposition?
Well, like maybe I would like argue here because I don't know what would like give like normative claims like the property being truthful or being false in the sense of what my meta-ethical stance is, like where that come from. Like I don't know,
I'm not asking about your meta-ethics.
objectivists or like some realist sense of morality. Like I'd be unsure.
Oh, he's
I'm
going
not
on a
asking you
rant.
about your meta-ethics, Dean.
But sure, like I think that we could grant some credence towards the idea that they'd be truth tracking because
What's the
they're
evidence for
reliable.
that?
Yeah, because they're reliable. And the reason why I think that they're reliable is for the reasons that I already pointed out.
Do you think false things can be reliable?
Do I think that false things can be reliable? Probably like not in the sense that I'd use the term.
You're just defining reliability as truth?
I take like reliability in this sense to be, yeah, like probably.
That's truth tracking?
Oh my god. It's
so
all
you're-
circular, man. Moral intuitions are reliable because they're truth tracking? I really don't know what his position is at this point. And then all of the definitions just kind of meld together and it ends up just being circular. He hasn't provided an actual foundation. They're reliable because they're truth tracking. And what is truth tracking? It's reliable. This is ridiculous, man. The rest of the debate was honestly pointless back and forthing between Dean and Kojo on who was misrepresenting whose arguments on abortion, but I do want to use this intro to point out a general pattern that you will notice when you watch Dean in debates where the person isn't just a random TikTok call-in. Whenever he debates somebody with actual political knowledge or some form of debate experience, he will either be intellectually outpaced pretty quickly, or he will end up in some kind of stalemate with the person. This is because it's very obvious Dean does not like to intellectually challenge himself, generally speaking. He clearly has not read any kind of literature, matured or fleshed out his foundations as to why he is on the left since the beginning of his career, or if he has, I seriously wonder how bad it used to be if it's already this bad now. And he clearly has not had enough experience in debating higher level people to learn how to aggressively control a discussion to go this or that way, as he let Andrew in the previous debate walk him around on a dog leash the entire time. Link to that debate down below and at the end of the video. And clearly, he has no intention to approve any of these issues based on the fact that every single live stream he does, he only debates stupid MAGA call-ins, and even Kojo in this video's debate called him out on it. The only redeeming quality that Dean has as a debater at the current moment is that he, alongside his friend Parker, are what I would classify as junk food debaters. Sure, it's fun to watch these kids yell at bigots all day, but you're not getting anything beneficial out of it, even if you think you are. You can only watch Dean and Parker yell out the exact same copy and paste anti-MAGA arguments so many goddamn times before it's like, what else can you do? Are you just like a one-trick pony? But outside of that, I really don't have anything else to say about it. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Ko-Fi and Patreon below. And also, I'm self-sponsored. You can check out my website below to schedule a free fitness consultation with me, because I'm also a personal trainer and I do plan on putting out some fitness related content soon, because I am not a one-trick pony unlike Dean. And other than that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you later.